So Colin Cowherd breaks down exactly why the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson will one day win a Super Bowl. He says Lamar Jackson and some of these other elite, talented quarterbacks in the past, like Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, John Elway, who it took into their 30s to finally break through. Eventually, they're going to break through. He feels that exact same way about Lamar Jackson. Patrick Ricard comes out with the quote, says, as long as Lamar is here, we'll be competing for Super Bowls. Plus, we got the graphic, the numbers here that prove Lamar Jackson and Peyton Manning are almost on the exact same trajectory of their careers. And Shady McCoy on the facility talks about how this wasn't a wasted season for Lamar, and about, hey, like there's 32 quarterbacks in the NFL, all these teams. Just because you fall short, he talks about not overlooking what Lamar Jackson actually accomplished this year and how the greatness that we're witnessing. Plus, James Jones, he talks about what the Ravens need to do to move forward, and it's a sobering message, man. So welcome into another episode of Ravens Reports, man. It's your guy Noah here with For the Flock. As always, bringing you guys our top 5 news reports and storylines coming out of our Ravens today. Let's go ahead and dive into the content. At number 1, an update on what the Ravens could do with their offensive line. I think it's one of the biggest areas of improvement, focusing on this offseason. Eric DeCosta said he's already in full-on free agency scouting, pro scouting, college scouting, free agency, contract negotiations. He said, my mind is already flipped. I'm already over the loss. I'm ready for this upcoming season. And he said, I want to be part of the solution. And part of that solution is beefing up and kind of re-strengthening that offensive line, because Ronnie Stanley's a free agent. Patrick McCarry's a free agent. Tyler Linderbaum is eligible for a contract extension and more. But Eric DeCosta alluded that, right tackle Roger Rosengarten had played left tackle before. He definitely has a skill set for it, and he could be the solution at left tackle long term and bring in a rookie right tackle in the draft or free agency. So something to keep your eye out for. But I definitely think offensive line improvement is going to be one of the biggest areas of focus during this offseason. At number 2, let's talk about what Colin Cowherd had to say about these elite level quarterbacks that just took some time for them to break through because of the players around them, situations, their current opposition, all that stuff, man. Take a listen to why he thinks Lamar Jackson will one day get a ring.
Basically, they put Peyton Manning and Lamar Jackson after Lamar had a disappointing weekend, and they compared them through 7 years in the playoffs. And what you have is identical quarterbacks. They'd played 8 games. Both were 3-5. They both completed 60% of their throws. Passer rating, Peyton's a little higher. Touchdown interceptions, very similar. It's a very fair comparison, but maybe it's the iPhone, it's our society, the volume of media. We don't let anything marinate or bake anymore. Peyton Manning did not beat Tom Brady in the playoffs until he was in his 30s. Peyton Manning didn't win a Super Bowl until he was in his 30s. Lamar Jackson just turned 28. John Elway did not win a Super Bowl. The legend of John Elway did not win a Super Bowl. Think about this. Until he was 37. Matt Stafford did not win a playoff game until year 13. LeBron, the best overall basketball player of all time. LeBron James, in a sport driven by 1 or 2 stars, did not win a title for 9 years. Where do you land? What help do you have? I was thinking 2 things. Lamar Jackson and Peyton Manning, obviously, they're both transformational players. But here's the second thing, is Lamar's never really given credit for this. The Ravens don't do receivers particularly well. They do everything else well. Their own, their run, their quarterbacks, the O-line, the D-line, the pass rushers, the linebackers, the running backs. They don't do receivers well. Even this weekend, Mark Andrews, worst game as a pro. Zay Flowers not available. He was using Bateman as his go-to guy and a tight end. He never has great weapons. But I've always felt this. Eventually, the Elways and the Favres and the Aaron Rodgers and the Peyton Mannings and the Lamar Jacksons, and I would even throw in Matt Stafford, they're just too talented not to break through. The one quarterback I worry about is Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow has one of the poorest owners, if not the poorest owner. They had to sell the naming rights to the stadium to pay for his contract. The general manager in Cincinnati, it's run by the Brown family. He's virtually powerless. They're the opposite of the Eagles. They take no big swings, no big risks. It's like the Eagles and the Bengals are using 2 separate salary caps and banks. Joe Burrow's the guy I worry about. I mean, because every great quarterback outside of Dan Marino, and Dan got to one, But outside of Dan, they all break through. They all get one. So I don't worry about it. And I also think there's too many boxes that he checks. Commitment, passion, leadership, work ethic. Maybe I'm a Lamar Jackson apologist, but the kid is an all-time talent. Joe Burrow is the one I worry about. Because it does take, let's be honest, as great as Matt Stafford is, you don't have the right owner, the right coach, you will eventually hit your head on that low ceiling. He will. For some Jaden Daniels, everything falls in place really early. For some Joe Flacco, for some Lamar Jackson, you wait for Joe Flacco, and you're in your prime, as Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are not only in their prime, they're in your conference. Where do you land? Who is your coach? Who's the ownership group? Who's your primary rival? I've argued for years Phil Mickelson has another 6 majors without Tiger Woods. But he won a lot of tournaments, and Lamar wins a lot of games. And he'll eventually break through.
And one day it could very well be next season. It could very well be the season after that as well. You just never know when it's just going to, the dam's just going to burst and the floodgates open. You just never know. I think Lamar Jackson, I just feel this personally, that he took a big step forward in the playoffs. This season, I don't know, actually the last 2 seasons, not his best performance against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, but, got business done against the Houston Texans, blew the Texans out in the divisional round, and then beat the Pittsburgh Steelers down, had a great game, 130 passer rating. Second game against the Buffalo Bills, he had 2 turnovers, but the dude was moving the ball up and down the field with confidence, poise, flinging the ball into tight windows in a very harsh on-the-road condition. Man, you saw the dimes to Isaiah Likely, the dime to Rashad Bateman. I thought Lamar, and especially being able to overcome the turnovers instead of it spiraling, the dude brought his team down 1 minute, 30 seconds left, on the road in Buffalo, cold weather, throws a dime to Isaiah Likely for the touchdown after avoiding some sacks and some pressure, steps up in the pocket, delivers with accuracy and poise. Something it just looked like he took a step up, even in opposition, even in tough conditions, put his team on his back after those turnovers, which we know were bad, but those were just like mundane, plays. It's not a talent issue. It's not a poise issue. It's like, just the fundamentals, the simple stuff, not, shooting yourself in the foot. But Lamar stepped up, delivered a strike, and then delivered another strike to Mark Andrews to tie up the game, which we know was dropped. The point is, I feel like Lamar Jackson's mindset, his mentality, and the confidence and the poise on the football field in the playoffs has taken a big step forward. And I don't want us to underestimate or overlook that step, right? Because to get to a championship, it takes steps. So Lamar, I think, has taken a huge step in his confidence in the postseason. That's my opinion, and I think it's going to pay off. One step that the defense is going to have to do is force some more turnovers in these playoff games, because the Bills' defense forced 3, the Ravens' defense forced 0. They were good against Josh Allen. Don't get me wrong. They were able to get some stops, especially to get the Ravens back in the game in the second half. But the defense next step to me is going to be getting some turnovers. You combine that with the step that Lamar Jackson's taken, and I think this team is really on the verge of a Super Bowl championship. And let's just enjoy the ride, man. Let's enjoy what we get to see week in and week out with Lamar Jackson, who is already a Hall of Fame player. James Jones, who we're going to play here in a minute, he said that if Lamar were to say, "I'm done today," he would go into the Hall of Fame. That's facts, man. He's the best dual-threat quarterback in NFL history. Already broke Michael Vick's record. Already about to probably have a 3rd MVP in just, 8 years in the league. That's absolutely absurd. So basically half of the time that he's playing, man, he's the best player out there on the field. So let's just enjoy what we're watching and witnessing. I think Lamar's going to break through. But speaking of James Jones, about what the Ravens' problem is about not playing their best when they need it the most.
Is when they need to be at their best, they are not at their best. That's the worst Lamar Jackson has played all year long, and I'm talking about turnover margin-wide. Obviously, that's the worst Mark Andrews played all year long, and this is the biggest game of your season. It's the same thing that happened last year. The biggest game of your season, you guys are not at your best. It's the same thing that happened the year before that. The biggest game of the year, you guys are not at your best. How is this keep on happening? It is nothing special the Buffalo Bills defense did. You guys were going up and down the field at will on the Buffalo Bills defense. You guys stopped yourself. This game should have been a blowout if the Ravens just played Ravens football. It should have been. They did not stop them all game long. Lamar stopped them. Mark Andrews stopped them. They did not stop them all game long. It should have been a blowout. Everybody gets a little piece of the pie. They ain't never at their best when they got to be at their best.
And then Shady McCoy goes to bat for Lamar and says, this wasn't a wasted season. And there are steps, man. So go ahead and take a listen to what Shady McCoy had to say.
You know, I was blessed to get an opportunity to be on with Fox. And the first show was Speak, right? My boy made some calls, right? I did good on the test. They hired me, right? And in the first year, Acho, Joy Taylor, and Dave Hellman, they would always bring up these Super Bowls. And they'd be like, oh, Super Bowl or bust, everything, Super Bowl. And I'm sitting here and I'm new on set, so I can't really say how I feel because I'm new. I mean, I know some people come on to do show, they just do what they want, like Chase. So I'm sitting here like, okay, so I had enough. And one day I said, guys, listen, I played in NFL for a long time, and I played at a high level with a lot of great quarterbacks.
All pro level, yeah.
And when I look around the league, who's winning Super Bowls? We keep talking about it. You keep talking about it. We keep talking about it.
We talked about the AFC.
Who are winning Super Bowls? I want to know.
Patty Mahomes.
And who else?
Brady and Pat.
Matthew
Burrow's
Stafford,
got one
Brady.
in there. Stafford.
You get what I'm
got one.
saying? So we the only guy that consistently goes all the time, right? It's Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
If we shoot jump shots, right? And I got 10 shots to make however many I'm gonna make, and you have 1, 2.
Who's making more?
Who's gonna make more? Every time you look around,
your shot.
Patrick Mahomes is going to the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. That's what we're living. It's his era right now.
Yeah.
Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, that's what they're doing. Back in the day, because you showed Peyton Manning, phenomenal. One of my favorite quarterbacks of all time is Peyton Manning. But when it was Tom Brady's era, him and Bill Belichick, I'm sorry, we're gonna just leave Tom. Tom's era, when he was winning championships and he was going every year, nobody else was really winning championships.
Nobody.
So hold up.
Go ahead.
So are you telling me that all them years, all them quarterbacks that didn't go to the Super Bowl, you telling me those wasted seasons?
The ones that accomplished what Lamar accomplished. That's why we talked about Peyton like that. because
Peyton did it.
But I'm saying, we talked about him like that before he broke through.
Aaron has 4 of them.
Yeah. And how do we talk about him?
Only one.
Everybody says how great the dude is.
Only one.
So
I say how great he is. Everybody else kills my
Aaron
dog on
Rodgers is a
TV.
great quarterback.
He
You can
is.
joke about it. He's different.
But it's a lot of people who kill him because he has not been back to a Super Bowl.
All I'm saying to you, James Jones, is like this is super crazy disrespectful to say that this man has 5,000 yards, 45 touchdowns, only 4 picks, and you say it's a wasted season?
Yeah, I do.
And in the way they lost is because his man, his best target, dropped the freaking 2-point conversion. And to say all them years is wasted is crazy.
No, I'm not saying
it's
all
only
those
Tom
years.
Brady and it's only Patrick Mahomes that goes back and forth to Super Bowl every other year.
I'm not saying all those years.
It's disrespectful.
I like this quote here from Jordan Schultz. He says, he may not have gotten the dub, but Lamar Jackson proved once again that he is not only a tremendous player, but a leader and a champion as well. Highlighted by a clutch 8-play, 88-yard touchdown drive to end the game. It's only a matter of time before he wins the big one. That's how the sports media feels. That's how I feel as a fan who covers this team. It's a matter of time. I'm just telling you right now, man. Especially that drive was without his 2 best wide receivers, Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, wide receiver 1 and 2, not in there for that drive. He's thrown dimes to guys like Tylan Wallace and his tight ends, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, to lead an 88-yard touchdown drive. Before, obviously, we know what happened. Mark Andrews dropped the 2-point conversion. But, man, look at this stat here. The Ravens have 78 wins over the last 7 seasons. No team in the NFL history has more wins over a 7-year span without a Super Bowl appearance than Baltimore. If you look at the theme of the playoff losses for the Ravens, it's been turnovers. Look at the AFC Championship. Zay Flowers fumbling at the goal line. Mark Andrews fumbling. Lamar Jackson fumbling against the Bills. Lamar Jackson throw that interception. It's like the Ravens are so talented that it's like what's crazy is even with some of these crazy mistakes, the Ravens are still in these games that they shouldn't be in. Like other teams that would commit 3 turnovers in the divisional round wouldn't have a chance to win. But because the Ravens and Lamar are so special, he put them in a position right there to win it anyways, for a 2-point conversion there to tie up the game. So Go ahead and take a listen to what Derrick Henry had to say on his guy Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I came in, being a teammate and, found a brother. Lamar is, gonna make this thing go. And he's the reason why we still had a chance. So, tell him the same thing, hold his head high, man. He's a Hall of Fame player, had a great season. It's a team effort. We came up short together. It's not on him. Forget what anybody else outside what we got going on says. We believe in him, and we always going to be behind his back.
At number 5, a very powerful statement here from Chris Long, former defensive end, who was a great player and has some really good analysis. He says, I don't watch Lamar and think the moment is too big for him. The moment wasn't too big for him at the end of the game. With the Ravens, the mundane moments are too big for them. And that's been the story with them. This came from Dev on X, but so well said there. Like, the moments aren't too big. Talent's there. Like we said, Lamar and the Ravens marching up and down the field, like outgained the Bills like 470 yards to like 260 or something like that. Move the ball at will. The Ravens stopped the Ravens with 3 turnovers, and look at the turnovers. Like, it was like a bad snap that Lamar tried to do too much, fumbled the ball. Just the mundane moments being too big for them. But Bill Belichick came out and said, I've been saying this all year. I think they're maybe the best team in football. But when they've beaten themselves, they've beaten themselves. And I thought that was, unfortunately, another example of that for the Ravens. One of the last things I want to talk about with the Ravens this year is how healthy they were. The Ravens made some changes with their strength and conditioning staff. We got Scott Elliott, who's the strength and conditioning coordinator, Anthony Watson, Kalen Busky, hopefully I didn't mess it up, and then Ron Schrift was was part of that strength and conditioning staff. So shout out to them for having our players healthy. Like, the Ravens were one of the more healthier teams this year. I know, obviously, unfortunately, things happened. Zay Flowers got banged up, couldn't play in the playoffs, but man, just wait till we get Zay Flowers healthy back for the playoffs and get Derrick Henry another year in this offense, and these tight ends and Bateman, who's really surging and building more chemistry, and just a focused team. I think we're going to get some more playmakers on defense as well. I think the Ravens are going to add another pass rusher, maybe another playmaker in their secondary as well. But let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section below, man. As always, smash the like button if you got any value out of today's content. I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.
When he wasn't looking, he ran me over.